if you had gone and you had a gut feeling that you shouldn't have gone, a lot of times when you go, you think to yourself, this is exactly why I shouldn't have come. Now I remember why we're not as close anymore.
I feel I can't count on anyone but myself.
Oh, wow.
So I keep it in most of the time and I just deal with it.
The moment you're exposed to it, you quickly make a decision, say to yourself, I can do that too. Or that's my next. That's who I want to be, right? But a lot of people, it's crazy to say this, a lot of people just say, that's not for me.
My mom's the same. My mom doesn't even know what I do.
Yeah.
She doesn't believe that I'm out here doing it and making it and living this life and surviving.
You don't need these things in your environment. Now, I'm not to say that these friends are terribly bad. That's not what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. What I am saying is that sometimes you need to recategorize your friends.
Okay, tell me, what happened yesterday, Rasheed?
So I'm coming off. So I'm on my way. I'm gonna go and sign up for something, and I'm on the freeway, and this truck loses this ladder in front of him. He has to be like about 100 or more feet, nothing further than that, and the ladder falls off the truck. Now this thing starts metal ladder, by the way, starts flying, rolling all over the freeway, the whole thing, and then it starts breaking apart. Like pieces of the metal ladder start like shattering everywhere. Now everybody's kind of dodging out the way, and then now there's no way for me to dodge over. I'm thinking, okay, maybe if I just go low enough, I can drive over this thing, like slow enough to go over it. A piece of the ladder, the step, sticks in the middle of my car. And I'm thinking, I don't realize it until I keep driving, and all of a sudden I hear this scraping. Starts looking back or whatever, sees like sparks. And so as I have to pull over and I can't really reach it. And then I drive up a couple more feet and I'm just like, okay, I got to get this thing in front. There's no way I'm driving my car. I can't drive my car like that. Yeah. So I have to get under the car and pull the step out of it. Man, luckily
on the freeway,
no damage or whatever, but it was happening like right behind my left, almost right behind my left tire.
Yeah.
So it was just like, man, I was like, whew. Lucky, like, it wasn't like metal flying through the glass or anything like that, but it definitely had my final destination moment. It was some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Man. So
let me ask you, before the cameras are rolling, you said you're on autopilot.
Oh yeah, definitely.
What does that mean? Like, what to you?
Man, you have your hit list, and you just, regardless of how you feel, you just start going through everything that's on your list. You start knocking it off. You start just attacking all the different tasks, all the different conversations that you need to have throughout the day, regardless of how you feel, just going through it, just autopilot, man.
Yeah. And during that time, what do you, cause you said you're not stressed, you're just on autopilot, but at those moments where you are stressed, what do you, how do you manage that stress?
Oh man. So that is years of development. I'm still learning new techniques, new levels, new devils. And so still learning new ways to kind of manage it. But in the beginning, I didn't know how to manage it because I didn't even know that I was actually stressed. You're young enough, so you think you're invincible. You think that you can just, okay, let me drink some water, take a nap, or let me grab a drink or whatever it may be, right? You think it's like, whatever. And then there's a level of stress where you start having panic attacks, anxiety, you start going through all these different things. I was at a point where I went to the doctor and they gave me an inhaler for my anxiety, not because I had asthma, but for anxiety, right? And then you start,
you couldn't breathe.
You just couldn't breathe, or you just randomly started having these like panic attacks, right? So for me, it's been a journey in figuring out what my needs are, but also I got to stay on top of it too. Like you got to start to understand the signs of when you're getting close to that pit, you're getting close to the edge. And so when I do that, then okay, let me activate certain protocols. Okay, I'm gonna sauna more throughout the week. Let me get some ashwagandha. Let me start taking certain, start on top of my supplements, massages, go to the chiropractor. I even do float sessions. So if you don't know what a float session is, it's like you're in a sensory deafening tank or just floating in water, right? So I started journaling. So different things, or having conversations with your confidants, your center, your council of support, whatever it may be. So for me, that has been my overall journey in that, because it's ever going. man, it's ever going. So it's, you got to continue. You got to stay on top of it too. System
Right.
checks.
Yeah. Yeah. You said something right now. Your council.
Yeah.
How big or how small is your council?
Oh, my council's small, man.
Yeah. How important is it to have a
Yeah.
council?
It is very important because not one person can be everything for you. If you do, you live a blessed life. You know, you have a great partner or whatever it may be, right? But even if you have like a great partner, that can only be 80 to 90%, maybe 70%. That 10% could be crucial depending on the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need your friends, you need your mentors, you need the people around you that can give you advice and speak into what you're actually looking for. You know, for me, even God is is the most pivotal part of my counsel overall. And so in these different seasons and different things that you're going through, you have somebody that's an expert, a subject expert in that area for you, whether it is, fitness or health, relationships, faith, business, money, whatever it may be. It's those things. Yeah.
When did you realize that you had to keep a council?
Oh man, when you start realizing that there's questions that you don't even know to ask yet. And so that comes through conversation like the conversation that we're meeting you are having right now. Yeah. It's you start to wonder through life. You're like, I know there's more out there. I know there's something that I need to know, but how come I don't know how to articulate it? Right? And then you start having a conversation with someone, and then you start to break it down. You start to soundboard your thoughts and your with things that are going on in your life, things that you're seeing that you don't quite understand, but you're wondering, okay, how come this person's over here when I'm trying to get there, but I need to understand why I haven't asked myself the question that's going to trigger and activate that why or that action or that drive overall. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, what are some things that you see when you're going through like your own kind of thought process? Who do you communicate with, or what's your process?
You. So there'll be some times where I text you, you've noticed, but there have been some moments where a lot of times is where I feel I can't count on anyone but myself. Oh, wow. So I keep it in most of the time and I just deal with it. And that's, you would agree that's not good, right? So but what has happened, and I think I asked you about this, is your friends that you grew up with, your longtime friends that maybe are doing something different, or that enjoying you in this journey, right? Even at that point, when back before entrepreneurship was even a thing for us, right? Or for me, we would have these talks. We would, confide in each other and open up, have these serious conversations, but nothing like now. So I feel now I can't even go to them because it's just, they're not in the same realm, in the same field. So I can't even, like you said, finding the right questions to ask or to articulate. I don't feel, and maybe you can tell me your thoughts on this. Would it be, am I judging too much to feel that way or to think that way about people?
That is, it's very interesting. I was just having this conversation yesterday. I mean, first, there's so much there. First, it's the grief of change, right? It's like you want to bring these individuals around. You want to share your thoughts, because up until that point, before those thoughts became intrusive in your mind, before you were exposed to a new truth, those individuals were there and they had all the answers because they were going through the same thing, right? Now you're exposed and you can't unsee what you see. So therefore now your thoughts are different from their thoughts, and there's a collision and there's a blockage there. So now you have this hunger to seek out this new truth, but yet your environment that you're so used to and comfortable with, it no longer supports that. So what happens when you have a new truth when your old environment doesn't support that truth, right? You then have to go and seek out. You then have to go and expose yourself to new things. Now, there is that loss, right? That feeling of loss, that feeling of grief when your environment now is being dictated by what's driving you, right? What's compelling you, what's pulling you forward. So when you start to go through that grief of loss, it then turns into survivor's guilt. Why am I thinking like this? Why is my life changing? Why am I starting to win and have new goals and new things or whatever? And my friends that were once with me or whatever, they're no longer with me. Let me go and see if I can get them to come with me. Let me go and see if I can take them to these new environments.
Always.
But you start to see that that's not always the best thing, because if they were supposed to be in that environment with you or whatever, they themselves would start to seek out new things. But a lot of times people get comfortable with who they are. And then they start to challenge your new way of thinking, your new way of growing. And they start to say things, well, you weren't like this before. I don't know what happened to you. Come just chill with us. Come hang out for a night or whatever, right? They start to do things and hinder your progress or say certain things to you that makes you question, am I going the right path? Am I doing the right things? Right? They even start to crack jokes, and then you yourself, sometimes people, they'll get in their own heads and they'll be like, dang, I'm a sellout now. Oh, I ain't the same person. I got to prove to them I'm the same person. And then you start to set back, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing that's most dangerous to people is this: when you start to get in your head that you're more powerful than your environment, that's when you start to lose. That's when you start to slip.
Oh, one more time.
The most dangerous thing for people is when they start to think that they're more powerful than their own environment. Right? That you think that your environment won't influence you in some type of way. There's a reason why a fat person can't get in shape or whatever when they got a fridge full of junk food and all this other stuff. You didn't prep the environment for your arrival to a place called there. You didn't even prep your environment to even be conducive to the thoughts that help you think to yourself. You don't need these things in your environment. Now, I'm not to say that these friends are terribly bad. That's not what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. What I am saying is that sometimes you need to recategorize your friends and say that they can no longer be pivotal to certain conversations, right? At one point in my life, they had access to level 10 truths, but now their access has been downgraded to a level 2 or level 3, because whatever I'm talking about, I need to be fed. I need to be reinvested. I need to grow my thoughts. I don't need to downplay them. And then you start to code switch. You start not talking the way that you want to talk. You start to not think the thoughts that you don't want to think, because you're afraid that they won't accept you or they won't accept the new you. And so that's that area right there. Now, when you do get to, this is the other thing too, because leaving has a discomfort. Also has survivor's guilt, and then you have grief or whatever. But also stepping into a new environment as well too. That's definitely a discomfort, because now you're stepping into a new environment that you've always been in. So in this new place, you can't keep up with all the conversations, but you're inquisitive, right? But in order to get to a full inquisitive where you're starting to ask questions without feeling the survivors, what is it? The imposter syndrome, or feeling as if that you're dumb in the room, you have to get to a place where you're so confident, you're just like, I'm supposed to be here. So therefore, let me ask questions and clear it up. Or let me listen to what's being talked about, and then let me go do my own research, whatever. Let me get well-versed in this, whatever. So many people, what they'll do is they'll fight for their limitations. Well, I don't know this, so therefore I must not need to be in this room, or I don't belong in this room. No. Stop fighting for your limitations. If somebody asks you, if you need to develop a new skill, don't say, oh, well, I don't know how to do this, or I'll never know how to do this. Go develop the new skill. Guess what? You're going to get better. You're going to get better at it. And you're going to be able to work on that thing. You're going to be able to add a new thing into your arsenal. Why stop your learning at what you think that is not for you, or what you believe is not going to be beneficial, but yet you know that the person that you're becoming and want to become has that skill set. So complete the vision, complete the puzzle.
You know what? I recently just rejected a dinner invitation from an old friend, mm-hmm. and it didn't feel so great. Mm. But I knew, I don't know, something told me, it's like I felt like I don't belong there anymore. I don't know. It feels weird. I will say this. I don't understand quite what somebody like. So somebody like within my circle of friends that I grew up with, mm-hmm. we grew up in the same hood, right? I'm sure you had some friends like that too. I came out of the hood. I went into something better, and I have what I have now.
Yeah.
which is a lot more than I had back then.
Yep.
But we all faced the same challenges. We all came from the same place with even the same backgrounds.
Mhm.
Why is it so hard for them to kind of grasp that idea that there is more out there, that you can create your life,
Mhm.
and how can you influence them if you grew up so tight together?
Because blessings and favor are not fair, meaning that they didn't get to be exposed, or they didn't get to be exposed to new truths. They didn't get to be exposed to new
Not even around
visions.
me.
Not even around you, because it wasn't strong enough. Because the thing about it is this: just because you're exposed to something doesn't mean that you're going to possess and apply it. The moment that there's an incubation state, right, of that feeling to be exposed to something and grasp onto it. Because the moment you're exposed to it, you quickly make a decision and say to yourself, I can do that too. Or that's my next. That's who I want to be, right? But a lot of people, it's crazy to say this, a lot of people will just say, that's not for me. That's you. You do you, man. You do you. A lot of people will take that time and then go on the other way. They will create a dichotomy for themselves on, this is not for me, that is for you. You do that. Even if they can't even see that I don't have to do exactly what Jay is doing. I'm gonna do something else, but I know that I don't want to be here anymore. Right? Mm-hmm. So and here's the other thing. You may not be the one that's gonna lead them out of that situation. I remember particularly back where I grew up, we grew up in the same city, San Bernardino. So I'll spare you the details. But I had a friend. He had just got out of jail for attempted murder, and he wanted to meet up at Yard House, right? This guy could have been anything. I mean, he had so much potential and everything, but just hot temper, and just his environment wasn't conducive to the things that he would talk about and want to do. Met up with him, had a conversation, gave him some advice, caught up, the whole thing. I gave him some hard advice. I was like, hey, you gotta stay away from these people. And, but guess what? Even at the time where I had changed my life and I was different, he ended up back in jail in like 6 months. And it's one of those things where just because you're there for that person in their time of need does not mean that you will change their life. You're just there for them in their time of need in that moment. And you have to be mindful that, okay, this is a quick moment. I don't need to keep checking up. I'm not. And here's another thing. People say that, am I my brother's keeper? It depends. Does your brother look at you as his keeper? Because they may just say that just to coerce you or manipulate you into doing something for them at the moment. Does it help? Does it go both ways overall?
Two-way street.
Exactly. So, just chop it up. At the end of the day, you may not be the one, and that's okay. You're somebody else's one.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I struggled with.
Yeah. And the other thing for the invite, if you had gone, and you had a gut feeling that you shouldn't have gone, a lot of times when you go, you think to yourself, this is exactly why I shouldn't have come. Mm-hmm. Now I remember why we're not as close anymore. Mm-hmm. And so all those reasons and stuff, and for some people, they don't need to test the fire. They don't need to touch the fire in order to determine whether that works or not or whatever. They just know. They remember the details. So just remember and reinforce. Go by the facts, not by your feeling. Go by the facts.
Like, I know that it wasn't because of me that we drifted apart. Mm-hmm. I know that I was always the one that was like trying to push everybody and motivate, inspire people, mm-hmm. and try to be, my brother's keeper. Yep. I was trying to do that. And then, so I know that it's, I know deep inside, I know that it wasn't me that was the reason why we drifted apart. But I guess to each his own. That's kind of like one of the things that I battle with a lot.
Yeah, it's the grief of change. Just going back to that, it's the grief of change because it was. I had a friend. This was my boy. Hit the gym together all the time. went to just hung out all the time from high school, the whole thing, whatever. And love dude. But the thing about it is got to the point where conversations became different, right? Directions became different. And you have to be okay with saying, you know what, if I like this person in this category and I'm gonna keep it there. But I cannot expose everything in my life because those things and those conversations that I tried to have, it made him uncomfortable, you know, and what you'll see in those conversations when you start to see the shift is those people, like I said before, they'll start saying negative things, or they'll insecurities will start to come out, the jealousy will start to show. They're not supportive of the conversation. They're not even interested in asking more questions about the topic that you're talking about, because to them it's irrelevant. You have to be okay with that. Guess what? You can go have those conversations with many other people that are going to find it fascinating, interested, and go deeper in the conversation with you. They will be your complete think tank.
Well, like this, I don't think I can ever have a conversation like you and I are having. What would you say about? So you sent me a reel. Yes, I think a couple of days ago, and this guy was talking about not everybody is made, made to work 40 hours and get zero pay.
Yeah.
And then you work another 20 hours and get your negative 1,000 pay because you had to put into the business. But then at the 61st hour, you get like 10 grand, right? So all of that time that you put in. And it goes back to that. Not everybody is made for that. Now, do you think it's attainable though? If someone puts in like that effort and actually kind of like flips the switch in their head, is it still that they're not made for it, or is it still that they can probably do it if they tried?
The thing about it is that goes back to, are entrepreneurs made, or are they born, or whatever it may be. The thing about that is this: it's what's your intention and your why, because it's simple. People will have delayed gratification for things that won't move them forward, but feeds an emotional feeling for them, right? So, for instance, people will be in relationships let me take that back. People will be in situational steps that will never become anything, right? But yet they will put in the work of doing all these different things, right? People will also work on hobbies, or play basketball at the YMCA or whatever it may be. I mean, they will train, they will lift just to play, but they won't make it to the league or whatever it may be, right? So it's not that the worth ethic isn't there for delayed gratification in order to get a reward. It depends on, is this reward worth the investment, right? I mean, when I saw that video, right,
it was worth it to me.
Yep. Exactly, and me as well too. I mean, I've been working. I haven't worked for anyone since I was 17 years old. Started my first business when I was 19. So I'm 32 now at the time, and I literally have never worked for anybody. Right. I will say this though: when I was in the video, I was like 60 hours and then $10,000. I was like, damn. I was like, what we doing over there? That sounds like a short. I'll do 60 hours for 10 grand, right? Because. Dude, like, there are times where there is zero profit left over, right? And you're working for like a month, 2 months, right? Yes. Yeah, you'll maintain, or you're breaking even, but you're not making any money or extra, and that you're doing that for like a month, 2 months, or whatever, right? That's business. That's business right there. And and then also investing as well too. Investing so much money, and we were having a conversation. It was like, man, like I could go and buy the car that I want, or go buy the house or whatever. But guess what? The business needs to be fed. You got to feed the beast. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to reinvest this money or whatever. Had delayed gratification until that point or whatever. But the reality is, like, that's real business, and a lot of people going, like, the entrepreneurs out there, the small business owners, guess what? We go in that, like, knowing clearly, it's half and half. You know clearly, but at the same time, you're like, you know what? If it works, it works. But if not, I'm gonna put in the work. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna make sure at the end of the day that I did everything that I should have done. I was meditating as I was on my walk with my dog. And I had this thought, I'm thinking of solutions for this business issue I was having. And I had this thought, it was if someone came up to me and said, okay, you're going to go through, every week is going to be hell for about 100 weeks, right? But on the 100th week, at the end of the week, you're going to have your breakthrough and you're going to have everything that you've ever worked for, right? Would you still keep going?
Yes.
And without hesitation, yes, I would. Without hesitation, yes, I would. Because people waste more time thinking about what could happen than they do on making it happen. And so that's an issue. That's an issue. But it's an issue if you want something and you want something, but you're not willing to work for it. But if you don't want it, guess what? There's no issue, no problem. Just ain't for you.
When you're having these talks with other entrepreneurs, what are the common factors that you find with them, with other entrepreneurs?
I think it really depends on, the entrepreneur as well too. I spend a lot of time with men entrepreneurs. So of course I have conversations with women entrepreneurs as well too, and there's some commonalities there. But for the things that show up more that can yield to like my business and personal or whatever, then I tend to lean more conversations, with men entrepreneurs. The thing about that is I'll tell you a story. I was in San Diego a couple years ago and I'm having a mastermind with these men. And the things that showed up was their real thoughts as it pertained to situations and things that they're going through in their business that start to reflect in their real life as far as their thoughts. One of the thoughts that I talked about with them was it wasn't fully a suicide thought, but what it was a thought of purpose and what is my intention here on life, and would it even matter if I was no longer here? Especially like when you're having a difficulty with whatever you may be building, would it even matter? Like, does this actually matter in what I'm doing, right? And in that moment, these men turned to me and was like, I thought I was the only one. If I just got wiped off of the earth, and what would happen to my business, but also what would happen to the people that I'm always giving to, and then they don't see that, because this is where it comes from too. It comes from you giving and then not getting anything back.
Yeah.
Because now your value is more transactional. You start to see that, especially if you live in a space of abundance and giving. It's hard for you to stay out of that space of transactional awareness when you're giving and you're investing and you're not getting anything back. And that's in business, that's in life, that's in relationships as well too. Are you getting back at the level that you need? Are your needs getting met overall? Because, and a lot of times that's not even giving in the same way. Last podcast we were talking and I mentioned, my love language was acts of service, right? Mm-hmm. In that, if you don't understand what your needs are, then they'll never be met. You're just assuming, and then you'll think, okay, this person isn't for me, or this business isn't for me, or this situation isn't for me, because your needs on what you're looking for aren't getting met because you don't even know how to articulate them. So in that conversation, in that mastermind, where we're talking about what do you even matter, it depends on what you're looking for. What actually feeds you? What actually makes you feel alive overall? And are you doing the work to reinforce the facts that are going to fill up that vision, that drive, that why, that intention overall, so that you can move intentionally? That becomes the reason for you being here, not anything else. And the other thing is this, I will say this shit. So there is something called noble bullshit. Okay. And people wonder why they're not getting traction in their life and why things aren't moving, because they're lying to themselves. The noble bullshit is this. And people like, so I
remember that.
Yeah. You have to be very truthful on what gets you up in the morning and gets you going. If you say to yourself, oh, my wife and kids are my why, my intention, okay, then you better be working late nights. You better be doing what you're supposed to do, everything you're supposed to do, right? But here comes where the noble bullshit comes into play. You're on the couch, you're playing video games while your wife and kids are in the other room, right? But you're saying, I'm always home after 5 p.m., right? You are in a relationship, but yet you don't feed or invest into the relationship. Yeah, but I'm in a relationship. I'm good relationship quality, right? But yeah, you're not even working out for your partner. You're not even doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing to make sure that the relationship is healthy. You're not being active. You're not doing the date nights, whatever. Now that's comes seasonal, right? But this thing is, what I'm getting at is this: don't be mad at the results that you get for the work you didn't put in. That's from Eric Thomas, because it's true. It comes back to that. The noble bullshit is, I have a blanket statement that sounds good to society, but I'm not putting in the work. You can't say that, oh, I'm always at my son's basketball games, but guess what? You're not. That's just your escape. You're procrastinating, so you don't have to do the work in order to build the business, right? If I had more time, or I have kids, so I can't do it. Guess what? There is a million other people that they got kids, they got this going on, they got this, and they getting it done. And then you're jealous on Instagram on like why you don't have the results. Now, the truth could be, I like fast cars, and I like to live life to the fullest. I like vacations. And because I like vacations and fast cars and nice clothes, that gets me up in the morning. That drives you more than having your kids or saying that I'm doing something noble over here. Just be truthful to yourself. Look, that's it. Like, be truthful on what drives you, not the story that sounds good to other people or even to the lie that you've sold yourself. Like, honestly, that's it. Just be truthful with yourself. Like, if that's your thing, if fast cars and pretty women is your thing,
preach, Rasheed, preach.
Jay, if fast cars and pretty women is your thing, Jay, all I'm saying is, at the end of the day, lean into that.
Yeah.
Because you can, by the time you get to your destination, your outlook on life may change. That's like saying, once I get this, one day you're saying, oh, I'm gonna buy this Ferrari. You get the money to buy the Ferrari, and guess what? You don't even want the Ferrari no more. But you just got to get there.
Yeah.
You can't make a decision in a powerless position. Like, it's just, it sounds good on social media. It's when people post something, it's like, oh, why would you buy a house like that? Yeah. It's like searching on Zillow and being critiquing everything that's in the house, but you can't even afford the house.
Yeah.
What Chris Brown said, what was that Chris Brown quote? It was like, know. How you gonna hate when you can't even get in the club? So that's that. It's just like, quit the noble bullshit, and like get to the work, so you're gonna be in a position to actually have a valuable opinion and actually make a decision on who you actually want to be. But you can't do that if you ain't got no skin in the game. You don't even got no coins to play with. So it's that's.
What's your why?
My why?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So my why is based on my ability to do. Like, I want to be the one that changes, my family's life, that impacts other people. My why is truly helping people live a purposeful life. I may not be like the speaker on the stage yet, or whatever it may be. I did a lot of that in my early 20s. It's like self-development, the whole work, even helping authors and coaches in that whole aspect, amplify their why, their story and stuff.
You attended?
And I loved, I attended and I put on my own. For years I had my own event called Night of Mentorship. I even had an event called Ignite, and I did all these different things surrounded like the story of creating and incubating the whole aspect of the why and purpose and all this other stuff. So I love that stuff. But then again, there was a shift where I said to myself, okay, I got to put some points on the board. I'm not ready to coach, and I don't even want to coach. Kudos to life coaches and everything, but that's just not who I want to be. I want some points on the board so that I can talk to a large array of people. I talk to in my life I've been able to talk to millionaires and billionaires and even like royalty and all this stuff, and I've been able to hold my own court in conversation, and then be able to take that information to people that have never been exposed to those things, and then be able to give them that information as well too. I mean, shoot, even my mother listens to me sometimes.
Yeah,
sometimes.
My mom's the same. My mom doesn't even know what I do.
Yeah,
she doesn't. She doesn't believe that I'm out here doing it and making it and living this life and surviving and going through it. She's so hopeful that I'm gonna go back to school and get a degree.
Oh, man.
And at 37, I'll be 37 this year, and she's still like, you should have done.
Holding out hope. Yeah.
She wants. I don't know.
Let me tell you something. My mother, when I first began, she said, "It's like, oh, just go to nursing school, and then you can do this stuff. You do your business stuff on the side, right?" My mother didn't believe I was doing real business too. A white man came and knocked on the door asking for me. So, but I'll tell you one thing. My mother, when it comes to Rasheed, bless your mother. I pray for you in the African. I said, I pray for you. Yeah. So my mother's a believer now. So she calls me her millionaire. Yeah. So it's that aspect. It's just like, dude, you can't fault people for not believing in you until they see proof. Mm-hmm. That's just life. Mm-hmm. So send your mother some flowers and some Zelle money.
Yeah. Rasheed, were you the black sheep growing up or no?
Oh, man, I was the devil. Yeah. So, yeah, I was acting up. I remember one time I had told my mother, I was like, oh, I gotta go to court. My mother was like, oh, she smacked that steering wheel because she had just picked me up from school. Smacked that steering wheel and was like, why are you always looking for trouble? And I was like, I'm looking, I'm not looking, trouble looks for me, but yeah, I was definitely the black sheep. And then, I had some amazing individuals that came and stepped in my life and intervened and showed me. And here's the thing too.
Was it like an intervention, or was it just
an intervention? I had a French teacher in high school that told me, Rasheed, get your shit together.
I remember
and the thing about it was she didn't critique my life. That's the other thing. People think somebody critiquing you is a bad thing. What's a bad thing is when they have nothing else to offer but the critique. Mm-hmm. But the critique is a moment of awareness. Okay, So she critiqued my life and gave me some advice, and then also was there to support the growth. She was there to support the change as well too. And so I'll forever be grateful to her for that. But that was the beginning. That just wasn't the thing that changed everything, but that was the beginning of the change.
Yeah, that's the thing with me. I've always been the black sheep, and my mom just doesn't. She's never understood. I don't think she ever will.
Your mother will see it, just not in the time frame that you expect. And that may be a conversation that you may need to have in order to bring some exposure to her too.
I think I already did, Mom. I already did. I think I had plenty of these conversations, and
but you gotta have the conversation in the aspect of you may not get the response that you want. Right. But the conversation is more so for you.
How many more conversations?
Oh man, look. There's multiple times in a man's life in which he's gonna have these conversations with his mother. One is gonna be when he decides the man he wants to be. Another one is gonna be the woman he chooses to marry, and the third one is how he raises his children. So get ready for some conversations, player.